Dvorkin, and I'm a managing partner at 4D Capital. We specialize in a very unique mathematical approach to the stock market where we analyze the market and individual stocks and multidimensional space. And when we do, essentially perfect order emerges. On top of that, we've developed a number of very powerful timing indicators over the last couple of years. And when we combine both of those factors, we can very often tell exactly what the overall stock market or individual stocks will do going forward. Whether it's long-term base or short-term base, doesn't really matter. We can very often tell exactly what they're going to do. Now, I personally believe our work is nearly identical to what Jim Simmons was able to accomplish at Renaissance Technologies. So today we're going to be looking at Netflix. Netflix is one of our 52 mega cap stocks that we analyze twice a year. So we're going to give you a very quick update. But before we do that, let me just very quickly share with you what our firm's goals are. And that's essentially we are looking for stocks that will 2x, 5x, 10x going forward. And of course, who isn't, right? But we have a very special weapon when it comes to finding such opportunities. And what we've done, we've developed a very powerful software around our mathematical approach to the stock market or analyzing the market in multidimensional space. And what our software is able to do, it is able, for example, scan the entire S&P 500. And it is looking for stocks that are about to put in major bottoms. I will show you when we talk about Netflix today exactly how we do that. So we're looking for stocks that are about to put in major bottoms. And why we're looking for bottoms? Because we can just as easily identify the tops, and we do as a matter of fact, but we would rather concentrate on the long side of the trade as opposed to the short side, because as you know, short side of the market is a bit more riskier, as well as the returns are very limited. At the same time, on the long side, we can generate those 2x, 5x, 10x going forward. So our software is able to scan the entire S&P 500 and pick out stocks with important upcoming bottoms. But the most important thing, it is able then to project from those bottoms in both price and time what those stocks are going to do going forward. And from the entire pool of equities, we can pick out only the best ones, only the ones with very clear upcoming turning point, and then subsequently with significant gains going forward, hopefully within a relatively short period of time. And that's how we are able to identify those stocks that will 2x, 5x within a very short time frame. I talk about that a bit more in our webinar. We have a webinar. Next one's coming up on October 31st, next Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk about that. We showcase our software. We tell you how we calculate the market multidimensional space. And we also look at the overall composition of the market at the present time. So if you would be interested in that, please, the link is in the description of this video. Join us. It's very limited, only to 10 people. We still have a few spots available, but go ahead and sign up if that would be of interest. So with that in mind, let's now look at the Netflix. I'm going to tell you very quickly what it's doing right now, what it's going to do going forward, and then I'll jump into a bit more detail, particularly for those people who are not familiar with our work, describe it a little bit, and then do a little bit more in-depth analysis of what Netflix is going to do going forward. So what you're seeing here is that Netflix has topped. Okay, there's a slight possibility it's going to go up a little bit more and hit 1400. But our software has identified this top back in June as the final top for Netflix at this point in time. By the way, it was just a few dollars away from our original target that we generated in the beginning of this year, and it was a couple of weeks late. So, but overall, it was a perfect forecast because we were projecting a major top on the Netflix. And what it's going to do going forward, so this was a primary cycle top, and what it's going to do now, it's going to decline into this primary cycle bottom. I'll talk about details of the timing when we do in more depth analysis of this. And once this bottom is reached, in both time and price, it's going to increase first into this mid-cycle top and then to new all-time highs by this major next cycle top. So bottom line, we are in for a correction, assuming the top is already in and that secondary target of 1400 is not going to be hit, which I believe most likely is the case. We're going to decline quite substantially into this target, 40 to 50% decline, and once that's over, then we're going to rocket once again into this particular top. So what you see here at the bottom and the top of the chart, we call them cycle composites. It's a very simplistic graphical representation of a very complex mathematical concept. So what we do is we scan the chart back, we identify in multidimensional space these particular composites, and then we project them into the future. So the top ones are responsible for the tops, and the bottom ones are responsible for the bottoms. What makes matter a little bit more complicated, typically there are multiple composites running in any given market or any given stock. So for example, I use Dow Jones always. Dow Jones has 2 bottom composites and 2 upper composites. But if you put them together, if you know how to put them together, by the way, these are long-term, we can continue to narrow them down into smaller and smaller time frames. But if you put them together, you can very closely replicate the actual stock market chart that you see on the 2-dimensional time and price chart. Okay, so these particular composites will get us into the neighborhood of any upcoming top or bottom, as is the case here, as you can see from the chart. Depending on the length of the cycles, I typically say it's plus or minus 2 months, but it could be greater, it can be smaller if the cycle is shorter. So they get us into the neighborhood. The lines you see on the chart is what we call cycle clusters. Once again, very simplistic representation of a very difficult or complex mathematical concept. So once again, we scan the chart back in multidimensional space, and then we use our proprietary cycles that we've developed over the years to identify the same, and then we project them into the future. So what's the difference? These cycles give you the exact date. As you can see here, we had 2 very powerful clusters arriving here, and then we had a major top associated with Netflix so far, okay? And then we have another one coming here later on. Okay, that one doesn't really matter, because we have to look at those cycles individually, determine which one is good, which one is not, and then that's how we are able to identify to the day sometimes turning points of when any individual equity or the overall stock market will top or bottom. Okay, so the green dots you see right here are 3-dimensional calculations that are basically pinpoints of any potential turning point, and they come very close to actual tops and bottoms. Sometimes they're direct hits, and as you can see here, the prior top was right within the margin of error of both of these points. So a very good hit indeed on both the major cycle top and these 3-dimensional points, as well as the cycle clusters. Okay, so the question becomes, what happens next, and where does Netflix go from here? So let me just show you this particular chart. So this is yet another representation of our 3-dimensional calculations. I know it probably doesn't make any sense to you, but it makes quite a bit of sense to us. So once again, let's talk about this particular top. In the beginning of the year, we issued a forecast that Netflix will top out, I believe it was May 19th was the exact time stamp associated with it, at $12.80 plus or minus $50 or something like that. I'm speaking from memory. This particular top broke that, well, it extended in time by a few weeks, which is perfectly fine. It was definitely within the margin of error of that May time turning point. But in terms of price, it pushed slightly above our projection by about $10. And typically when that happens, the underlying stock or the overall stock market wants to go to the next level. Now, it ended up in that gray area. That's why I cannot give you 100% certainty that this was the top. Now, our software, which is infinitely smarter than I am, is saying that yes, it was the top, and now we are beginning to decline, and the decline will continue and accelerate lower. Okay, so that's what the software is saying. Still walking within that gray area where there's still a possibility that Netflix will jump to the next level of $1,400 before this particular top is put in place. Okay, regardless, whether we go to 14 or whether this was the top, the next move, the next substantial move is going to be to the downside. Okay, and our calculations indicate, so as I talked about earlier, we can calculate once we identify the point, whether in the future or the past, once we can project into the future, and that's what you're seeing on the chart here. So this particular region, dark green region, entails that it has a high probability of occurring when the bottom is put in place. Okay, so right here, and that's why we estimate a 40 to 50% decline from this particular level to this level. Now we can go a little bit lower. That's perfectly fine. Once the top is confirmed, hopefully by the time we do the next update for the Netflix, we can actually give you the exact precise location for the bottom. But for the time being, this is perfectly fine, because it's still going to be a while before we get there. So that's going to be the bottom. Let's say 40 to 50% decline from the all-time highs. As you can see, 714 to 762. Let's say 720 from, so yeah, 40 to 50% basically. And then once this bottom is put in place, so once this stop is confirmed, first of all, then we can make an exact projection to the downside already. And from that projection to the downside, we can estimate what the next stop is going to be. Okay, but I assure you, let me go back to this particular chart. Let's see. Okay, so that's the bottom we're looking at in the fourth quarter of 2026. So approximately a year from now, right? It's going to decline quite substantially. It's not going to take a long time. So approximately 12 months. And once the bottom is hit, then it's going to surge and go into, first of all, this mid-cycle top, and then subsequently into this major cycle top, which is going to be above the prior high. Okay, so, and that's the move that we're looking for if you want to make quite a bit of money from it. Okay, so we're looking for that bottom. Well, you can short the stock. You know, actually 40 to 50% decline is quite substantial, particularly if you use options. You can generate quite a bit of capital from that, but we typically shy away from that side, so I definitely wouldn't advise you to do that, because, as I mentioned earlier, it's infinitely more difficult to be on the short side. But if that would be of interest, definitely consider it. But from our perspective, we are waiting for this bottom. Once that bottom is put in place, then that's when you want to come in and load up on Netflix, because it's going to go much higher. So that's it for today. Once again, we have a webinar coming up in October 31st. Do sign up for it if you wish to get access to information such as this. Well, that's our free trial. I'll talk about that in a second. But the webinar will talk about the overall stock market. It will talk about how we calculate the market in three-dimensional space. It will also showcase our software. So if that would be of interest, highly encourage you. 10 spots, some are already taken. Register as soon as you can. The link is in the description of this video. Okay. Now we have a 30-day free trial associated with our service. You have access to everything. No credit cards, no strings attached, none of that. The link in the description of this video as well. Click on that. Request it. We'll set you up a wealth of information, not only about the overall stock market, what it's doing, what it's going to do in the future, but these 52 mega cap stocks. We have fast movers, we have super equities, we have trading, just a massive data set that you can use to benefit from. Okay, and I think that's it. We'll be back with another update tomorrow. I believe we'll be looking at Procter & Gamble, but don't quote me on that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.